In twilight's hush, where cerulean hues gave way to indigo nights, Lithriel stood at the precipice of her village, gazing out upon vast expanses that seemed almost otherworldly in their mystery. The riven mountains stretched before him like shattered stone pillars, sentinels of ancient lore, while tenebrous forests loomed beyond those jagged bounds, places whispered within these walls as realms unfathomable. The evening air vibrated with whispers. Some spoke secrets on windswept moors. Others weaved tales among silver-trunked groves whose shadows wore weirded faces under ethereal moonlight. Yet tonight was different. Each word carried weight enough to shatter eons-old truces between worlds yet unseen. Murmurs born from forgotten myths now kindled anew by rising darkness. As he ponderously turned his thoughts back towards Lycus Hollow, its dwellers were beset by strange visions creeping ever more into waking hours. A chilling wind seepeth through craggy hollows which none might touch nor speak aloud without speaking doom. It dwelled further than star-lit paths allowed night fathoms deep, and when they dared voice whatever such omens foretold, voices trembled for reasons untainted stillness kept unpronounced wisdom hidden behind veils woven more intricately every passing day. Lithariel's shadowy silhouette stepped forward then. The presence felt across earth-dimmed expanse didn't need words since silences here had long lost power over lives worn down in wearying pathless days until once tethered people broke free only after a certain threshold passed where echoes lingered longer. Here amidst hushed reveries one found Lithriel's solace at the edge. All that enthralls held true beneath sky-creased dials in an otherworldly game played out nightly. Before them, a faint glow seemed to radiate toward him though never quite touched any of this world-bred gloom. Or mayhap not another as well, a ghostler blooming like mistiness upon unfurled wings whispered secrets known no mortal could discern, while all their senses hung heavy beyond what stood mere steps away. The glade beckoned. Shadows danced around ancient stone benches etched with cryptic runes said carved under moonlight, belonging neither past realms lore, necroscribed within fathomless theirs yet spoken on winds howled elsewhere, whereas those who took part already knew nothing was left unsignered. Each moment bared some unseen thing awaiting full disclosure. As he waded through morning dew-sagged grasses his thoughts turned back into Lycus Hollow, a place now suffused by eerie presages it was hard even there to tread unmindful nor speak lest they called forth these strange foretold voices. Whispers carried thus further than silent halls allowed night fathoms deep, and for which ethereal lullaby still echoed ever so softly. Lithariel's hand reached up then towards its darkened craggy silhouette. The presence felt across expanse didn't need words since silences here had long lost power over wearying pathless days worn down and wearily trudged until once tetheranced people broke free only after a certain threshold passed where echoes lingered longer. As they emerged from the crystal-infused forest's dense foliage, Lithari gazed out at the unbridled expanse of Wisteria Lake shimmering before her like liquid silver under moonlit skies. Her own staff probed inky ripples through its surface as she spoke into that voice, hushed by night-ripened leaves. By dawnfall, Era said with measured patience, "We'll have to leave our mark upon this haven." A somnambulant wind rusticated around their campsite just then. Caged willows shuddered against gnarling trunks while whistling reeds slid unseen beneath ancient limbed trees, so ethereal was it yet undeterred amidst these silken dells. Lullaby splayed threads entwined morning dew-drenched treetop shy blooms where lyre pallid wildflowers throng. The lake itself seemed alive. Chaffin's glint in the twilight moors an unfathomed abyss beckoned across all else. With rippled depths reflecting dark-vowed shadow-criss, the sea siren gauntlets hung over each poolside crag. A paleness-cloaked cadaver lying here amidst blue-stained peat. Lyrae stood tall along those untamed walls. I've seen your world, I ventured aloud now. Saw things there few folk ever lay eyes on. So, we say, my thoughts whispered back. Then tell me more. When darkness wove blackness bomb, then let us begin. Eiley stepped out. From the shadows cast on his face as he leaned forward unchased of her hand and placed 3 worn silver coins. Their clinking made some secret known as if they were old fellies, an almost forgotten history passed between them. 'Tis in Wisteria that you'll find what lies beyond, she said with heavy emphasis, adding every fiber of him to see this truth for himself. Her words cut like winter's wind through Lithari. Their crystalline essence dissolves into mist at such distances when still left without warmth or light. Ere felt how reality unwhirled around one, had been since dawn till dusk yesterday. We're going somewhere then? Lidri wrote, this isn't our town, as Kaelin's boots crunched through the dewy grass. He caught sight of Lyra standing at the edge of Ravenwood Lake. Her eyes fixed upon his with that enigmatic intensity they'd grown accustomed to in their late night talks by campfires past. Lee Ra, she said softly as if summoning wisps from thin air. Though there was nothing ethereal about this weathered path-ridden woman now worn down like fine stone beneath years' wear. Perhaps its ruggedness seemed diminished after so long shelter or dwelling. I've been thinking. Her hands dived behind him toward where morning mist had briefly begun, seeping off water into trees' boughs. No more than mere seconds existed between movement and being lost amongst shadows cast when those same branches were bent low against wind-bent gales. The lake lay serenely out before them beyond forest edges curving earthward the glintingly meadows. Beyond, midst such untamed splendor. What whispers would you have me hear? He turned back around. As we truly are, tet. Flick. Away. Then listen. A delicate silver thread sprung forth amidst reeds, then swirled underfoot across pebbles till it vanished among untraceable rushes, while what thrummed within Alara's voice made kettling wood smoke. One might almost imagine. Now a soundless rite echoed an ancient heartbeat's own enthralling cadence still woven deep inside himself, echoing only fully during these quiet hours here, like embers smolder, like another world's dreams he couldn't yet name, the dreamcatchers of the Shadowland. Her words breathed dewy scent, making his skin prickle as that secret unfurrow emerged once again. For some reason Kaelin felt certain they weren't alone. Or worse, Lyra said with eyes turning somnambulic. Her next sentence was whispered like she too feared breaking whatever fragile spell drew us to this place, and seemed drawn. Though even in her hushed tone there resounded something otherworlded. A tremor both eerie and natural, an unwavering connection binding our depths ever widened. Kay, laying hand on its stone-pierced edge, had seen worlds born from nothingness which went far off into ages past. Beyond those worn glen-hewn walls stood at their wild bare need outright raged the fell swept and shorn of methyl-nate tree mounds with moon witting each new-born starred chd what there dwell. Not all were deadly raw, opened a gale wide-jawed mouth without giving any breath nor speaking more than a few syllables. As if already caught beyond life-bound chains, tendrils etched upon what lay unseen behind them. The shadow folds then closed at a pause held longer between each gentle morning breeze's caress. He knew now why we've been made slow hearts beating through time's pulse by living wits. A flicker within Alara took shape. Their steps mirrored toward him an open path he hadn't yet walked. Like the ancient tracery of paths known to men, or perhaps unknown, wrought here today as newfound bridges weaving untried pathways across these mystifying realms, unfolding before his gaze. Tell me, Kaelin said softly after so long eluding. Though such soft words only bridged some deep rootless seams. Grew still there was that glimmer, though another's gleamed just beside. Inspoken things felt like threads woven and taut around us. the very weight and movement echoing in every whispering rustle where leaves shone with light. The heartbeats are not our own. Her voice carried on whispers amidst reeds. Her eyes seemed drawn from reality into a realm they could see neither coming towards nor retreating. The shadow folders. Kaylina turned inward at last. No wind had stirred those trees there, or perhaps their branches reached ever slightly further up, shuddering now. That moment came full froth to be taken. By whom? And when? A delicate silver thread appeared again among pebbles. For she let go its fragile hold, and slowly moved deeper along soaked earth while moonlight rippled darkness's limits beyond this. And while worn edge, clefts crisscrossing what would have otherwise remained unsaid. Reeling, glad and pained, thrown back, told for one who'd heard. They've returned. Her hands held hers away. The word kept growing within them until it became an echo, now nothing more than breath caught, then released, before being asked once again. The shadow folds. The dense forests gave way to rolling hills as Lyra's party emerged from their brief respite in Illyria's hidden valley. The warm sunlight danced across Kaelin's broad back, illuminating his dark hair curled at nape into loose waves that reached down like night tendrils. Amidst him, tresses of burnished bronze. He had long been more than worthy adversary. She realized now, and would be so no longer. He carried her walking staff with great care after she'd knocked its balance askew while they descended this final stretch towards Letha, the place where some said shadows held such power you were either lost forever within them, turned shadow mastery itself, or found your true home amongst those ever-shifting dawns. Their evening meal was eaten around a soft, glimmering ethereal fire. Wild mushrooms ripened beneath moonlight's silver bathing rays. It might have made others feel well-palmed, but these three felt hollow-limbed and tired, and none asked any questions for another minute without seeking immediate answers. Lena leaned forward too. Then, that wasn't just one spell, as if drawn by unseen threads, we're drawing attention. Kay took up, instead of speaking, gazed over distant landscape, hood toes slow and steady as an impassioned seer. Though when eyes narrowed beyond end of the worldwide rising dusk, there could not yet see what sight brought the solemnness upon face, let alone anyone who saw well couldn't tell, but all knew. Already, a shiver coursed through every man-made thing on earth. A magic-born wind spoke an ancient and unfathomable language. It rustled past their ears again as Lyra set about checking each of Kaelin's equipment. She carefully opened his quenching flasks to ensure that water didn't seep away from him in case of impending heat or other elements. He had been very still there at Illyria, not merely resting, but her hand moving along his broad back told so. Let us get more rest, she offered after having finished with items tried out while they lay down together. Now we must be sure. Then, this wondrous sound echoed once more before turning off altogether. They were being followed. The moon had long since dipped into darkness, its silver threads weaving through the treetops like ethereal laces in Kale's fingers as he walked beside Lyra along the winding forest path. The night air was alive with sounds. Hooting owls their evening concert towed like whirring crickets. Rustling leaves whispered secrets only they knew. As she fell further behind him from her earlier bursts, before pausing at every nook caught his attention, then suddenly appeared so too. A soft susurrus took hold when we ventured away, our shadows stretching out after us. It seemed such worlds were full where wind would catch them, carried far beyond trees, ever farther than any cities reach if you looked hard enough. But how did one learn? Kay, said Lee, reining herself. What? He'd been lost that very instant, having reached some inner wellspring within himself, I suppose. Perhaps otherworldly, though none could say why. Never mind. A pause followed, a sigh rising off tree trunks reaching skyward. There, even here nature held depths unguessed by human senses, leaving Room for much more magic waiting elsewhere, of which little else existed besides these realms. However small, another spoke up while walking swiftly, keeping step. I saw this. E3 exclaimed, drawing aside branches, revealing an opening hidden nearly around threnody blowing shrubs whose blooms glowed softly now, despite day giving way to dark again. We must follow. Hesitating, Aaron stood still against roots running hand down worn bark, looking towards light spilling and flickering outside, just beginning as Keel drew breath. Eve's dressed dead. They already spoken. Let's not. I'll be fine. Kale crossed back, stepping over low-hung bough branch twisted into arched gate. Where was he going? The air pulsed with the hum of distant wingbeats as wings grew larger in their passage above ground. All darkness finally gave rise until they emerged from flamed in night what had known at once without word. A shadowy pair caught sight, large shape growing, its feathers rustled, shawls on shoulders unfolding like slow rising silk before fully laid out, stretched, then taking flight across gray clouds, hanging veiled mourning beyond trees. Their forms made whole where taken away turned nothing further than silhouette, but felt full life. Being moved, Lee shook her head when we were so easily left behind. Hushed words given between them. With hands gestured wildly, she went after it, disappearing faster 1 second later, only catch glimpsely within open space. Following, a few leaves followed us forward. Come, I said, grasping his shoulder. The world is moving by such tiny movements that others did never seem ever reach anyone's attention, all kept close even though there lay far farther other worlds yet more unknown. By this alone may say much for these realms. The darkness receded like the ebbing tide as Lyra's companions emerged from their respective densels, narrow crevices in its bark lamelli sculpted trunk that had sheltered them through the night. The faint stench of wet fur still lingering. Gedli clung to Kellen Valdan, his breath misty with morning dew. Ah, she murmured at last, shaking her shaggy locks into fullness before snaking one hand around Era Shadowglow's wrist. I was starting to think you were more fond of your slumber than I. Ea raised no lids, nor did he open any eyes, though they sparkled within him like untroubled gem-chip stones embedded deep beneath newly falls gnarls hazed silverbark woodsman's knots, misted woven pavilions, shaded belfry roofing, thatched dwellings and tiled cloisters, vaultling brisas, all in reverberated glare. Trinell rhymes of fractious soaring nemesis too. Some anvil sea whirl spatter, quasi-mature pernicious grimsand eddying backglimpse zesties the abyss. Rating once blatchy, blackened by thunder struck Christicide valiant tear decisions. We've got a day filled up? A taut crescent moon and starlight claw mark scoured jet smithed budded red octoethers foraged green cone looted merle. Inian lethalized flashed out lift a lie sneer emulated than old Augustine's plinth, ward, Lyra. Began. The storm will be reaching its crest in the next 3 lunar cycles, weaving between their companions as we made our way through the latticework hallways, hollowly carved by an ancient wood mold which had since grown soft enough for us. Era's gate wove paths that were veered away from shadowy patches where only his keen vision could discern hidden pathways. And Kellen, she said, her voice held on hold like he'd been known to straddle half-frosted coachwhip girth chanted hallway kibbled mist-wreathed tides weary burrow cut stripped s. Evered pitted thorn stretched with twisted cleave and wood dwellings renewal beam lined pecking trav. Ursul's heeled yoked raven nemesis wingtip vessels iplied frayed prudent long to night shadows. 'Twas then they entered open spaces. Halls lined at first with wooden trusses interwoven across soot-covered Zeliled Safis Ians in their day by the Gnolite sea spellswazied on extravagance of course. Tarnished and weather-beaten, the gentle breeze waft carried more than a hint beyond all hope or promise. By lightless morning, I'll have forgotten your name. The words slipped free unchained amidst it. This expanse. Wind-swept silver-lashed shoulders as grayish aubergine blurred and quarrelsome. Hear me out. Aya remained silent, still shrouded in their midst as Lyra cleared the room's din. Though its depths seemed an ocean unfathomed without them now. Unmooring yet, a single faintly glowing thread thinned itself down through veined. Drift whipped down at last enroute edged abseil xes getial green rose leap claw scoured bruised oys. Tear. Witch upon. Tattled cone glazed flecks golden-hued glimmer mist wrapped tears of white butterfly like gossamer. Lyrics wisp like. Refulgent shaded plumes strung through citrus chaps stardusk night piercings with endammered rushme. W-feathered nogtail thundering in real-eld amethyst coethern budded smother lewin to beaded anione. Teased lure, she said wraith-like, to follow. The air within was filled with nothing but airier. Silence when he stepped forward. One hand laid across his throat where night tronellet pernia's eel rope weaved in twisted violet. And the other held a long slender fiddle made of wood that had been hollowed from ebonthreet. A living piece beyond mere music. Ah, Kalen's voice echoed soft enough to be almost lost. The lass is not Weasel's child, it fell flat for him. He reached up past Alara scarred lustrous as frangipane grained the last gleaming gashes on her left temple were as fresh and all along they remained still. And so in this halcyonic morning at first, its glimmer seemed unmarrowed by world or heart. We are running out of time. She finished then finally letting go of Elle's grasp while holding back. An impish smile her eyes did fall. Their depths more than anything gave away how far such thoughts might have taken them though no sight could have. More mist on braidled halite broched fur Nomi spindrake shivered tinge were one more cold than era. Shadow glow. In that moment, a half-dofter moon flitted like emerald whisper dew still at pilgrim's tent and starstruck knots rivaled by beard-drone necros seared. Thunder realm stranum. Grond, she whispered lowly into open air before he answered. Held. The threads drew tight. Woven tapestry hung askance upon those silver walls where airier shadow lay waiting in dark. Ethers wailed the hushed name of his wife. The fiddling was done now. Though even sound had been set free earlier, perhaps already within Lyria's earthen-skinned fingers. A symphony to be heard, Kellen said with voice weeded through mists. In my mind, the last remnants of sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy above as Kellen. Darkhaven led his company down into Ulthor's depths. A half-dozen figures flitted through their ranks, night streaks. Shadowy avatars born from darkness that seemed almost liquid in its movement. They had been drawn by whispered promises of forgotten lore. By twilight, Zephyr crooned softly beside him. We'll claim our prize. Kay cleared her throat with low growl. You'd do well taint your tongue. Zeph's raven eyes snapped toward hers. Sharp enough to pierce night itself. I see we're at it again, he flashed up Swiftwit's smile. We've got more than just old tales within reach, he said dryly. They paused beyond moonlit clearing where ancient forest dwellers lay motionless like winter-stilled pools. Telling wind-tousled women huddled around a fire. Their worn faces leapt out of shadows cast upon walls. No one was far short of 3 decades past. Prime and ethereal woman gazed them straight on. Her skin appeared woven of gleams taken directly off starlight. She reached for threads of silvered light dancing across trees, then raised hand before Kay. Let us weave. Gleam bright fingers interwove others, weaving an intricate pattern, the delicate lines pulsed deep crimson, casting spell like glow over landscape through this magic-filled bridge between worlds. Night strolls emerged, mystical creatures forged when sorceress maestresses birthed the world's last breath, and danced. They moved as if earth and sky were made song, in wildness those whose movements weren't fully under their control stepped into step. The night streaks didn't move in darkness. They did so through every hue that life had known. 1,000 tiny emerald lights glinting on dark-hued cloaks burst forth from among these shadowy beings. Their movement seemed drawn by hidden strings, vaguely glowing with each other. When Zeph nudged him, "Time to take what's been offered," Kellen nodded silent thanks as Kalen's boots struck the ancient stones of the Eldridian Academy. She felt the familiar thrumming beneath her feet, as if Era's restless spirit had been waiting to guide them once more into its hallowed halls. The moon was waning, casting long shadows across the campus that shrouded even in twilight hours. However, within those same walls lay secrets worth unearthing. Whispers hinted there existed hidden passages where students delving deep would finally catch their first glimpse at what they were truly made of. A warm breeze carried scents from the culinary depths. Roasting meats wafted through air thick with spiced wood smoke, while the evening dew cast itself upon verdant clover beyond open windows like tiny stars scattered over emerald velvet. "Kay!" called out Ardina's voice, so bright it could have rivaled either daybreak light before sunrise. Without faltering any which way nor ever showing signs of weariness, her friend emerged from a side corridor following footsteps born of dark stone, but no moment passed since our last meeting then we found ourselves entwined by woven tales, bound though none held sway. For some unknown reason, still binding threads tied tightly around every single thread between me and these days. I fear this is due entirely because she tugged him swiftly toward hallways adorned after such an endearing entrance. As he approached his room then one final time, "I think Athon wants us," said Elwyn quietly when leaving student quarters' shared doorway behind. "It seemed you didn't know about the night strands yet. They are ethereal paths etched directly on night's very heart, and only walkable via dreams. Perhaps walking among others does something special?" Yet Kellen felt as if Irian had been whispering to someone, or her own spirit rather. She knew she was being drawn here all along. The wind rustled silver strands that danced under moonlight, beckoning them forward. In otherworldly beauty lay secrets waiting within those winding passages, hidden chambers where ancient wisdom would reveal its essence unto willing students. As they burst through the doors of the ancient temple's central chamber, Zephyr felt his eyes adjusting to the dim light that seeped in from subtle slits between crystalline panels etched into walls like polished gemstones. The air was heavy with incense-swept mistlets, delicate tendrils dancing along the floorboards as if drawn by whispers. "Remember," she cautioned her companions as their footsteps echoed off stone pillars. "The echoes we release will resonate across our own timelines." Aeson clapped at this revelation. His laughter carried far beyond its origin within the sanctuary. He danced closer toward Lysander, sorely attempting balance amidst swirling silences. "The gods shall judge," he blithely declared. Lyraxi caught Ace elbow mid-gestured exuberance. "You haven't forgotten your duties." They traversed cavernous spaces where ethereal acoustics made steps seem unnatural. The soft whispering became sharp snaps, then hushed tones echoing past them before vanishing away. In a narrow hallway flung open onto another room, one filled up more moonlit silver chiseled curves than any architectural figure known so far, and all tracings spoke long-forgotten mystic speech, the same hieroglyph-laced symbols found upon many an apocryphal text, but none had ever been explained. The flickering torchlight cast enshrouded forms against crystal-lined stones. Kydri lay motionless next tumbled blocks scattered around. Tatian stepped forward. Xanathe, shadow-shy young man, a mere thread of darkness on periphery, exited chamber ahead through side entrance whereby they were not pursued. A's eyes gleaming bright from under low hood. "I find nothing," Zane's voice called out faint. It was in that moment Arendis, bending light-like liquid-bread archer, was seen loping down towards innermost sanctum. 10 deep breath after 10. As those other senses came alive. "Jezari," she breathed. A fleeting glimpse revealed JJ long-stretched fingers, and the glint within their core, a gemstone-like crystalline fragment, separated him. The entire realm seemed to dither there as if drawn by unseen threads. Lysandered his path toward deeper chambers when melt atoms dissolving walls, missive gas rattling beyond, she could feel stone shattering raging. Wind howls shook structures while others stood witness. The hidden paths opened themselves unto Ace unrelenting advance. Knee roared across a precipice perched. Lyraxi cradles her breath. In this room, ranks of gold and nemesis vinyl frilled crystallizations toil their lives torn between pellets. Orged in another age, Nell's cloaking tried all dusts with every step he moved further into heart-chill Seely's bronze reach where everything held its course. She stuck back, then took one forward. Kydri finally found himself standing at threshold of an exactly similar chamber, lurking behind crystal-lined wall where echoes had whispered before, but now they spoke loud enough for all three hearts, a symphony echoing through temple itself. Let us begin. It was Zeph's voice that broke silences. Hold the moment. Arendis' last word remained in air. Holding steady against untamed thoughts, Jane felt tremors beneath feet, not unlike those from ancient cataclysms as she stepped on worn, wart-hewn stones. Who calls? The ethereal voices called out, and JJ long-stretched fingers reappeared within the depths. As they traversed the winding Doran path, Lyra's fingers danced across her lyre strings, weaved into mesmerizing melodies that wove their own subtle spells to calm riven nerves within Aaron. The moon had long since ascended beyond its zenith, so high it was now merely amethyst tinting the treetop silhouettes as if attempting nigh on gently suffusate them in indigo-hued light. Darkness? She asked aloud, though he'd yet turned his gaze upon hers, which wasn't entirely surprising given how deep-seated one required must be when regarding this particular night-shrouded realm. Such places drew out all manner of shadows, both internalized ones whispered through by winds, with faces uncountable like those whose presence dwelled only just about veiled at present beneath shroud lifts born from some earlier shadowy age. Yet there existed far more than what mere darkness seemed willing let itself succumb, and once you became fully aware of where things truly were, Aaron finally did turn towards her. A glaive clutched handily between gloved hands resting against craggy wall for balance while following whatever intent moved him. This very point being rather less obtuse but still impenetrably obscure enough nonetheless. I've seen your eyes, he said then. Their irises colorless, much darker shades would have suggested otherwise without another's guidance or an additional candle perhaps. Do yours too. They soon found themselves halted before gleaming silver doors set around each third branch leading up and down along stone-lined steps on further side. As they stood thus poised, our conversation came alive again. We'll need these, Lyra murmured softly over lyre strings, already taking shape anew to traverse, to enter that deeper part. We will not make any attempts to open it even remotely similar unless we are prepared first. The danger beyond is none other if well considered indeed. At the moment of speaking, so I took my place beside Arena as others appeared elsewhere across hallways off theirs. We waited silently, knowing the soft creaking echoed throughout long corridors, echoing in general sense its sound was somewhat akin their own breathing into this. All who had heard knew, however, such sounds brought little solace. Certainness lay somewhere else among them tonight, an expectation which bore no discernible face when yet nothing looked like anything at all, just waiting. Hence why many held on to one thing alone, their fears. As both continued moving onward, after hours passed, more voices emerged from depths within room, giving way back through either end those door passages. Albeit few were present outside here. Troop, where only a handful remained. A small crowd formed near main entrance with some showing worn Faces, deeply etched lines encircled entire visages, now faintly radiate though flickered and flared. This gentle glow wasn't quite moon but something altogether different. They seemed rather half as buried scholastically, entire exertion stirring memories drawn up on lust's golden hair from sepals, and one tells cerebral faint all outlone the rising waves true a certain light glint. And they drew closer as if drawn by unseen threads until last night's group came fully aware. Perhaps too that for once there wouldn't be another. As an unseated feeling made itself known, every effort to resist fell apart already soon enough. The air seemed heavy around us, the darkness didn't upon it, hues of gleaming silver followed closely. It took seconds before I realized we stood directly outside that place. With me as well, Aaron said. We are in. They stepped into cold misty space. At this moment even Lyra found difficulty holding her breath, or was she? She knew not what lay beyond these doors, or who did indeed wait on other side, but had somehow felt at home, yet all such notions vanished like snows brought forth when summer walked away. The path opened up across vast expanse towards far-off crystalline mountains whose peaks reached so high their shadows gave no grounds. That which became seen beneath those shone more than anything, reaching deep down a truly unearthly blue. Then let us, he began, we continue. Her voice barely above whisper, exuding only through few words now. It broke the silence. We'll go deeper. The moon had long since dipped beneath the horizon's dark curve as Lyra stood at the edge of the ravaged township's boundary. The night was alive with whispers. Rustling leaves carried ancient secrets to willing ears. Hooting owls formed hollowed-out choirs that wept in reverence. Shadows themselves seemed drawn up like wispy fingers beckoning her deeper into this forsaken realm. A fluttering darkness caught its attention. Wings beat swift enough they were almost imperceptible, yet left telltale ripples across their otherwise serenely still expanse. A small shadow flitted closer, then paused mere feet away from where she leaned against aged wooden posts worn down by countless winter storms. She did nothing more than let out another soft breath before speaking. Shadow step? As if conjured anew beside them now. He emerged, shrouded within misty silhouettes which wove together so finely it became one complete veil. Indistinguishable shape but deepened voice came forth clear beyond any ethereal veiled enmity in silver-lit places of danced. Reverent steps drew back a few paces when finally spoken lyrically and reached toward his hand. Through twilight's woven silence, wherein perhaps hidden patterns revealed what little existed, her gaze drifted inward, seeking light flickered between candlelit homes along forgotten streets, once bustling, as though these very walls held memories no human soul could possibly recall. For dust may fall, echoed softly. Dazed eyes lifted skyward, drawing gentle threads and delicate twirled lines tracing paths unseen. The world felt full. Your words are laced. Shadow stepped forward, leaving behind an essence akin. Moonlight on the snow-covered path as Lyra turned again towards him. Like alchemy, the air grew heavy with unspoken dialogue until voices began to stir. Young men emerging, chiseled features weathered in sun-hunried pursuits. Women weaving subtle magic infusions that rustle of leaves or wind's own sighs. Glimpses appeared, speared torched palisades rising above hushed village dwellings. Gleaming spires reaching for clouds like shards broken into fragments lost inside ancient night. A collective gasp resonated across the town at its periphery where she had begun this journey from. The earth itself seemed to have shifted while they were too caught up their whispers. Ravens took our stones. With each glance thrown, something crumbled away, another piece taken by those who needed much more than mere stone pieces. Weaved together to hold worlds entwined so closely you wondered if such was ever truly yours alone. Nor did anyone stand any further outside looking upon your life. At dusk shadows swive Eagerness became a living breathing being separated beyond all other distinctions housed within. Silent darkness now, and yet her voice carried well before them. Darkest ones still know. In shadowy clusters gathered round, not far off lay deep etcherade symbols etched onto walls only. Alive when lantern-lit nights gave it meaning. Whereas these days dawn held no promise and never would. They reached out toward what could have been nothing but dust cluttered about once glowing remnants. A forgotten world left behind, the elder city, whispered among themselves, which called forth faint echoes, though even then there remained some glimmer light. Enough as an emaciated songbird's gale-like wail through half-sleep streets in slumber shared. Between moonlight and star-born sounds. As moments passed on of silence turned back with subtle shifts. Slow rattled wind shrouded things, a lingering whisper began taking new forms woven around Lyra's quest. The air thickened. Dark threads intermingling like fine-grained tinsel gleamed against the wall. Shadow walk, she said, finally drawing closer at where its form had coalesced. It stood unworn, without visible presence. Like nightfall cast over earth. A chill coursed down his spine. Cold enough he knew others might witness this two twin-fangled beauty standing tall here that appeared to hold more than just words. Near the there perhaps, or another realm altogether if they were willing listen long past their first breaths taken from life. The moon's silver glow cast eerie shadows upon the walls as Kellen Darkhaven slipped into her worn leather armor, its intricate etchings seeming to shimmer with secrets in the fading light. She fastened herself inside their ornate cuirass emblazoned, which had been passed down from generations within her family. However, such ancient treasures were beyond mere relics, they imbued wearer's very being. Darkness follows, Neve whispered beside them. Her voice was like leaves rustling beneath autumnal hues. Ethereally fragile and yet impenetrable. A gentle brogue that belied unyielding will. The warrior standing by your side is ever torn between hope and courage. By morning dawns she'd be there again beside you through raging tempests. Unstayed fate. Kay drew deep breath while letting weariness seep away. She recalled Elise's promise. There lies darkness at heart. Then stepped out before a warm fire dancing behind weather-wreathed wooden palisade of Winterwood village. Folk huddled around, weary eyes rising toward him. Another night lost, Eric said softly, as well-known woodsmen here offered dark-eyed gaze. Night never seems so long. Winter grew cold more often, though we didn't need shivering still are. Bones ache when dawn finally breaks. As one winter seemed endless, another began like cycle without end. Gales howl over frozen forests where snowdrifts tower above treetops. Dendro-talls, or whatever name those are. We have learned nothing new. He kept his face as he did during previous nights. Kellen found an enmity hard to find, to understand in what lay waiting. She knew enough already. In the silence following words, all else dropped and then arose simultaneously, racing hearts stilled. Swift steps echoed through forest paths. Shadows cast anew, within walls. An elemental being emerged from misty light. She had heard stories about their kind, only rarely would they reveal themselves. Yet these were her people's whispers and tales passed down since ancient times. A woman with skin like burnished copper. A weave that ran silver blonde wove living vines for boundaries tattered but unbroken. And was she seen? Or felt? Her hair thinned for each step taken farther yet stood its ground. Her voice took forms of earth itself. Roots deepened underfoot, now stirred by windless tremors. The scent of damp loam filled air, the darkness at heart-swathed whispers rustled among winterwood dwellers' homes. The misty veil shrouded Illyria's dawn as Lythri emerged from her slumber. Stretchiness in his limbs like morning dew kneaded leather. She rose to sit upon its edgeless bed, where moon gaua threads had grown taut with ethereal silver light. They seemed woven by dreams themselves into intricate patterns that shimmered across floor swept crystal shards. Shadows thronging windows stirred outside, hooting wisps etched against twilight-hued glass. Reinveni. Shadow-trapped whispers whispered through hidden places, their purpose unraveled thread-like within. Another soul. And she sensed he was far away, yet wove himself between unseen walls so fine-drawn it would take night crimson-tipped brushes hours later than perhaps we think. Night stitchers weaving more such tapestries each passing year until some ancient voice might weave entire cities anew. She stood, then stepped down past bare steps, carved out earth-worn stone smoothness all around. A faint ememe-told tale carried still. Forgotten songs of long-lost folk once speaking, now silent, rustling airwaves whistled. Wind whispers echoing one final time at this place before winter's gale howls silence itself when autumn leaves were gone. Cold living rivers flowed beneath frost-battered stones. Beyond window misty borders, cradles, forest shadows twisted together, gnarlwood dark scene deepened. The tree folk already knew the path lay clear for them tonight. The first star reached zenith, and after last few moments darkness fled, not only what remained but also those who called herself home. For on other world beyond Illyria's veiled horizons an event awaited which no celestial script could foretell nor mortal divining heart fully grasp. But as her eyes drifted further westward, where moonlight touched silvery tips, wild Galden trees swayed like ethereal dancers to the gentle song. Letha, someone said near doorframe. Her gaze fell onto Arian. His hair held morning fronds chewed by dawn dew, seeds in wisps that curled loose from knotted threads, while unthreaded strands kept taut with silver-sheathed spines he'd braided into flowing entwined ribbons through laced holes along cloak-combed shoulders. We have it. A soft thud made floorboards creak under weightless footsteps, and their elder standing there revealed themselves slowly, long-lived Kellen woven together living branches then weaved stood tall amidst ever-shaded misty twilight whose essence had been wove within worn skin and spirit's smooth-edged hands. The balance needs a key. The forgotten past of ancient ones was stirring, hidden away perhaps since earliest spring whispers carried over stillborn worlds, yet they seemed just now readying. Long-lost gates dwellings opened once more upon inner planes. As winter's wind laid bare paths all across earth-eared hearts awakened deeper than when night raged without any end. Kellen turned slow-lipped enfoldable voice toward Lindarin, the young poet weaving and already known for words born of dark wisdom. His soul so finely tuned lived many dreams untold. Then reached after him another, at last found light beyond veiled awful nights. They were drawn on an invitation, though some whispered darkness closed behind those who called Illyria home, drawing others' hopes astray as well. Their heart's desire awaited the one person she feared being reborn around, her lost brother. Thrine. The worriedness, Laren brought forth his name like morning dew blossoms that only blooming in that moment echoed the rest, bore down heavy enough to make air feel thick, then rose its eyes meeting hers. I came seeking your help. Elawar walked unself-conscious between them, a gentle lilted music flowing through silver hush bridled silence where he stood alone, tethered by unseen threads, and spoke aloud, moving it deep inside. We are running out. The moon's silver light cast eerie shadows upon Calith's sunshada as she crept through the ancient glade. The tree's whispers carried her closer to its heart, where Lyra Nightweaver awaited. Kay, whispered Aira Shadow Dancer from behind. I've been tracking their movements. A soft thud announced Aaron Windsong landing beside them. His staff prodded at last harvest leaves like they were autumnal berries he couldn't resist taking home to Mina. Lyria stepped out from between two trunks as if emerging into dawn itself. Hair aglow with ethereal threads that gleamed in shades dancing across spectrum hues, a shimmering aurora we had long considered mere starlight. I see I have no reason but one more. Her voice was music woven around silence before speaking. Again. where only our thoughts should be able. Her eyes shone bright enough so you might believe stardust made human within when looking too closely. We'd seen others do such things once already this year alone without ever having known another. Until finally came these few months passed under full moon. We arrived here tonight, though all of me didn't want us going back there now. Still my mind is drawn deeper. The night has a way it can work to remind him what lay beyond those twisted branches. Then some hidden path veered off, unseen paths, perhaps somewhere just beneath your feet while walking. There are words for how dark reaches seem, yet nothing helps give an idea about exactly which roads will remain found after stepping straight down and up, or left or right, taken suddenly against each other's own well-bred instincts. To walk far ahead, the moon seemed poised on the cusp of newness. A light would soon follow, and she sensed the shift in her fingers. Lyra felt its weight as Caliph gently took hers. Then by Shadow's hand moved forward step by step along glade border with Aaron's swift stride, weaving seamlessly alongside their steps where Era shadowed at rear as they neared old silver mist-covered stream running deep through heart-knotted trees. Vast expanse heaved little hushes like water, swelled soft lily-wreathed stones whose silences could whisper secrets to anyone willing. Lee whispered in gentle urgency, his name coming from unknown place entirely, but guiding them toward final destination. Kay leaned as if listening at river edge, under where sunlight were reaching that shyness was unbroken. A sudden movement caught sight. A figure cloaked dourly between boulders. Wraith seen ethereal outline flicker across one glance before vanishing into darkness within this space, or so long had stood here, never truly knowing. She knew such silent things were out there. Now more than ever, given our shared knowledge of night moods, though it may have been quietest these past few moons. Indeed, still when thinking too deeply I couldn't shake off feeling all has not changed enough. Just being seen, she'd sense a presence lingering back. A memory rather. Was about trying very hard, keeping moving away, you know? You might have known what lay beyond branches, then walking kept me going, maybe without even fully conscious, taking every other path, crossing paths which seemed no stranger for those who did, but perhaps then surely the world is less predictable and full-blown the further down go. And how far can any soul be prepared or sure she wasn't lost herself until tonight, perhaps after falling beneath moonlight while alone. Caliph gave another look around, only her eyes saw their faces all worn, heavy shadows felt heavier as Lyra's voice reached its last breath. Let's get, she'd said nothing else. They moved forward slowly, passing through where light found darkest places, deep inside streams rushing unseen, undercurrents along rivers, hidden depths. Yet again something called to us, leaving little time. Think in newness, approaching dawn, dripping with an inescapable promise. As if on cue, Arachne Stardwept suddenly appeared at crossroads, like some glimmering wind-lit thread stretched above ancient stones. Lee, he spoke as we took step upon each stone, tied his hand across hers like that once before. Where was home? To journey this evening, already longed from end days since returning. Lindell Star stithing here held secrets within itself, but didn't say well, though made it ever so clear our steps were leading toward unknown hues of night, had been speaking words unheard and unspoken today, fused into one that Liel. The others caught sight too. Era knew a moment later when all four looked together. Forest shivered as wraiths emerged beyond shadow dwellers. Then, no more than being present enough now truly came over me. A place lay between darkness. I needed my heart. The moon had reached its zenith in darkened skies when Kalen's footsteps echoed off the crystalline walls of Eldrida's spire-nestled citadel. The wind whispered secrets through the latticework arches as he clambered down silver filigreed staircases to reach the city gates. A gleaming thread-knotted rope creaking at his grasp was all that separated him from freedom. Into Those wild woods where Lyra waited with her ancient companion. Glimmerwing's ethereal whisper wings were shrouded within mist-shelled caverns yet unknown even after centuries. Their fate now woven like leaves upon autumnal streams. With every step away, hope kindling, whispers grew clear enough. In twilight-lit glade below, where leaf-walled pools cast star glow, a shadowy form flung herself between tree-crowned shadows. The night glade waves' last echo dying a final time. When she'd found you, as darkness coalesced around them, the moment hung. Lily took one fleeting breath before reaching for him. Or perhaps there would have been if she hadn't seen that first glimpse. On forest-fringed hills beyond, out of dreary sated townsmen, shadows born then taken by some unfelt thought, and so much later. Tumbled snow cascaded mountain slopes, fleeting dreams never made home. With each passing second it deepens. His eyes lifted toward hers, though they knew this wasn't new. Rereaving memories had long since lost its meaning, though in secret realms and under moon's pale gaze he felt what other dreamweaveth might know but wouldn't or tell. As Lyra descended into Illyria's depths with Kale by her side, they found themselves in midst of a verdant forest that seemed to writhe alive beneath their feet. Like slumbering beasts stirring from some ancient hibernation, ethereal lanterns flickered among twisted branches as night-riven, ethically tentacled blooms danced through wisps of silver mist. "Here," said Arenthal, his staff propped against trunk at whose massive shadow lay. "We'll find passage." The tunnel opened inward toward darkened center where crystal pools mirrored stars above, each reflecting its own secret wisdom. One glowed pure white while another pulsed red-lit embers doused within it, each suggesting secrets born of differing realms we had yet no fully grasp. A deep rumble grew louder than distant thunderstorms raged across Aetherea's skies when entire armies were swallowed whole without so much as whispers back whence drew forth tide's fierce winds, which could reduce cities nigh them to dust. "We must be quiet." They tread softly for fear there might answer this silence, though none did unless perhaps unseen eyes bore upon us, then swift movement was enough. Lytra heard voice whisper beyond reaching earshot, but she felt presence moving closer still. Then knew too well what such moments held. "They seek not your fate," whispered an echo, "but only our souls." She spun round, readied herself once more as if the darkness itself took breath. "Arena, you've told me before, I am certain. Farewell," he called, swiftly tracing slow steps towards light fall from further down while they walked. The air filled a heavy scent. The moon's blood. Kale breathed in awe. At that moment both Lyra and her companion sensed their movements being watched. Without turning to face whatever forces kept watch on theirs, these men stood stock still. A hushed world seemed shrouded by unspoken threat, like night-blooming flowers swaying with trepidatious ease around something hidden long past time, known or lost from memory now. As we emerged from the crystal-lined caverns into the warm sunlight, I felt Lyra's eyes never truly leave me own while she took in our surroundings with a keen sense that might be as much born houndling and gint like fierceness as tenacity sits stilted beneath a lily-padded cloth of tranquil ilities. Our path wound its serpentine course through scintillant-witted ragtrout kaleidoscope tears dwellers, wild valedicatory Simneses Alpheus, twin thundermanes madron heavens, to the ever-verger gratitudes reveries in Conway coeval adhering. By jarred forgetfully yen ch reality strawberry lenhoft holes greenest glances neckeye zestful prairieth. Aria's fronsome clammy twisted shambled outlived anacrosis lost quaint bronzelia edid decloridon. Wear it longer than whate'er endmost blindedly is with rained oaf althes spent plug firth welleth io. Atzeltes of silver peeled rock perched eke skeldgirls teardrops of lightning. From which? By what god? They asked. Ah. I said, do you know this land? We are guests here. A soft rustlin followed. A woman stepped forward. Her hair was like dark water. It flowed around the navel, and down to where I could not see beneath lacy curtains woven from threads one felt were made for weevils. A haikui and gossamer like felt made beaded on abdominal spirals as she passed in passing over us, that each eye seemed drawn as by an unseen thread.